Morning children, how are you all? Stay home, stay safe. In science we completed 3 lessons, isn't it? Chapter 1, 4 and 13. Today we will have a revision for chapter 1, 4 and 13. Okay, ready children? First we will revise chapter 1. What is the name of the chapter? Nutrition in plants. Okay, nutrition in plants. What is called nutrients? And nutrients are the components of food which are necessary for our body. Nutrients are the components of food which are necessary for our body. For example, carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, fats are the nutrients of food. Okay, and the next one. What is called nutrition? It is the mode of taking food by an organism and its utilization for different metabolic activities is called nutrition. So what is called nutrition? It is mode of taking food by an organism is called as a nutrition. And the next one. What is called autotrophic nutrition? Autotrophic nutrition is the process of preparation of food material by the organisms themselves. That is, they make their own food. Okay, they do not depend on others. That is called autotrophic nutrition. The plants are the very good examples of autotrophic nutrition. And the next one. See, during photosynthesis, green plants make their own food by using external sources of energy. What is called photosynthesis? The process of making food by the plants is called photosynthesis. They use sunlight, water, carbon dioxide to prepare the food. Okay, so during photosynthesis, green plants make their own food by using external sources of energy. What is the external source here? The sunlight. And the next one. Heterotrophic nutrition. The organisms which cannot prepare their own food material and depend on the plants for their nutrition. This type of nutrition is called heterotrophic nutrition. That is, it does not prepare their own food, but it depends on other plants. Okay, that is called heterotrophic nutrition. And the next one. What is called photosynthesis? It is the production of food, carbohydrates by plants from carbon dioxide and water in the presence of green pigment called chlorophyll, using energy captured from sunlight and releasing excess oxygen as a byproduct. Okay, what is called photosynthesis? It is a process of making food by the plants by using sunlight, water and carbon dioxide. See, carbon dioxide, water, sunlight. Sunlight is the major source of energy here, and it makes their own food as carbon dioxide and it leaves oxygen gas. So this process is known as photosynthesis. And the next one. What are the raw materials for photosynthesis? See, sunlight. It is absorbed by chlorophyll molecule. What is chlorophyll? It is a green pigment present in the leaves. Do you know leaves are the food factories of plant? Why? Because the leaves only make their food. Okay, so what is the raw material? It is sunlight. Other than this, we need water and carbon dioxide. And the next one. What is called stomata? See, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is taken through tiny pores present on the surface of the leaves. These pores are called stomata. We already know that in plant leaves only making food. Okay, the tiny pores present on leaves are called as a stomata. See the picture. The tiny pores are called stomata. And the next one. What is guard cell? Stomata are an oval structure surrounded by guard cell. Stomata, what is called stomata? It is a tiny pores present on leaves. It is surrounded by guard cells. And the next one. What are the other modes of nutrition? We know that only the plants that contains green pigment, that is chlorophyll, makes their own food. And the next one, what is the example of parasitic plant? Cuscuta. The other name is Amarvel. It is a plant parasite with no leaves and root. It derives its nutrition from the plant on which it climbs. So this is the Cuscuta. From host plant only you get food. So it is a parasitic plant. And the next one, insectivorous plant. It also uses heterotrophic nutrition. See, some plants are not able to get nitrogen from the soil as they grow in nitrogen deficient soil. So, picture-like structure is a modified part of a leaf with a vein at the apex of opening and closing of the mouth. See, this is the picture plant. It grabs the insects when it sit on the lid of the mouth. This picture plant, it gets trapped by this picture plant. Okay, for nitrogen deficiency. So this is called picture plant. And the next one, symbiosis. What is called symbiosis? It is the relation between two organisms in which both of the organisms are verified. For example, see, fungi and the roots of the plants. Tree provides nutrients to the fungus. So both fungi and tree, that is both fungi and roots get verified. So it is called symbiosis. And also lichens are the best example of symbiotic relation. It is the association between algae and fungi. So both are get verified. It is symbiotic relation. See, in lichen, this is lichen. Algae provides to the fungus prepared by photosynthesis. So both algae and fungus get verified. So it is called symbiotic relation. And the next heterotrophic nutrition is saprophytes. What is saprophytes? Organisms without chlorophyll like fungi have different mode of nutrition. We already know that the chlorophyll is very essential to make their own food. But these saprotrophs doesn't contain chlorophyll. So they depend on other plants. So that is called saprophytes. And the next one, saprophytic nutrition in fungi involves the mushroom. They grow on decomposed and dead particles. Okay, so they get food from the decomposed dead plants. So it is saprotrophic nutrition. And the next one, enrichment of soil. So nutrients in the soil are absorbed by roots of the plant. So the nutrients, there are many nutrients present inside the soil. You know, these nutrients are absorbed through roots of the plants. What is called fertilizers? Fertilizers are the man-made chemicals which are rich in nutrients. So it can help to the growth of the crop. Okay. So fertilizers are the man-made chemicals which are rich in nutrients. They help us for the better growth of the crop. And the next one, nitrogen replenishment by rhizobium. A bacterium rhizobium trades the atmospheric nitrogen and converts it into the soluble form. So See, chapter 1. What is the name of the chapter? Nutrition in plants. In this, first we will discuss about fill in the blanks. See the first one. Green plants are called dash since they synthesize their own food. The plants make their own food, then it is called autotrophs. Okay, the plants differ from other animals and plants, then it is called heterotrophs. So green plants are the best examples of autotrophs. Okay, and the second one, the food synthesized by plants is stored as starch. What is the name of that food prepared by plant? It is starch. And the third one, in photosynthesis, solar energy is absorbed by the pigment called chlorophyll. Okay, what is called chlorophyll? It is the green pigment present in the leaves. What is this? It is chlorophyll. And fourth one, during photosynthesis, plants take in dash carbon dioxide and release oxygen gas. Okay, so during photosynthesis, sunlight, water and carbon dioxide is essential and it gives starch, that is food and oxygen gas. So it take in carbon dioxide and it release oxygen gas. And the next one, take the correct answer. Cuscuta is an example of autotroph, parasite, saprotroph and host. It is an example of parasite. Why? Because it gets food from the host plant. So it is a parasite. And the second one, the plant which trades and feeds on insect is called Cuscuta, China rose, pitcher plant and rose. It is pitcher plant. Why? Because it trades the insects for the nitrogen deficiency. So it is a pitcher plant. And the next one, name the following. See the first question. A parasitic plant with yellow, slender and branched stem. It is Cuscuta. It is a parasitic plant. What is the name of the parasitic plant? It is a Cuscuta. And the second one, a plant that is partially autotrophic. It is a pitcher plant. Why? Because it contains chlorophyll, but for nitrogen deficiency, it creates the insects. So it is a pitcher plant. And the third one, the pores through which leaves exchange gases are stomata. What is stomata? It is a tiny pores present on the leaves through which only the exchange of gases takes place. Okay. The next one, true or false? See the first one. Carbon dioxide released during photosynthesis. It is false. Why? Because oxygen only released. The plants take carbon dioxide in and release oxygen. So it is a false. And the second one, plants which synthesize their food are called saprotrophs. No, it is autotroph. It is false. So plants which synthesize their food are called saprotroph is false. And the third one, the product of photosynthesis is not a protein. Yes, it is a carbohydrate. So the product of photosynthesis is not a protein. It is true. And the fourth one, solar energy is converted into chemical energy during photosynthesis. So it is correct. It is true. And the next one, choose the correct option from the following. Which part of the plant takes in carbon dioxide from the air for photosynthesis? We already know that it is stomata. Why? Because it have tiny pores present on the leaves are called stomata. So through which only carbon dioxide get absorbed. And the second one, plants take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere mainly through their leaves. We already know that leaves are the food factories of a plant. And the next one, short answers, that is 3 marks. See the first question. Potato and ginger are both underground parts of that store food. Where is the food prepared in these plants? See, potato and ginger. In both the plants, shoot system and leaves are above the ground. We already know that there are 2 parts. The parts of the plant that grow above the ground are called shoot system, and the part of the plant that grow below the ground are called root system. Okay, so they prepare food through photosynthesis and transport it to the underground part of the storage. So in both the plants, shoot system, that is above the food by the process of photosynthesis. So the mode of nutrition in plant is autotrophic. They synthesize their own food. And the next one, what is the function of guard cells of stomata? We already know that the guard cells are present in stomata. See, the guard cells help in controlling the opening and closing of stomata for gaseous exchange. The exchange of gases takes place through stomata. So what is the use of guard cells? It controls the opening and closing of stomata for the gaseous exchange. And the fourth one, which part of the plant are called food pathways of the plant? It is definitely leaves. See, leaves are referred to as food pathways of plants. This is because leaves synthesize food by the process of photosynthesis. And the fifth one, except plants, why cannot other living organisms prepare their food using carbon dioxide, water and minerals? What is the answer? Because chlorophyll is must to prepare food. So our body does not contain chlorophyll, that is green pigment. So it does not contain chlorophyll. So for observing solar energy, which is necessary for preparing food using air, water. Okay. And the next one, distinguish between a parasite and a saprotrophs. First, what is called parasite? It is a parasite feeds on a living organism. The organism on which it feeds is called host. Why? Because from host plant only it get food. So it get food from host plant. That is called parasite. What is the example of parasite? Kasputa is an example of parasite. Then saprotroph. They feed on dead and decaying organism. That is, it gets food from dead and decaying organism. They do not feed on living organism. For example, mushroom. Mushroom is a saprotrophic plant. Okay. So this is about parasite and saprotroph. And the next one, how would you test the presence of starch in leaves? What is starch? It is the food prepared by leaves. How we can test the presence of starch? See, the presence of starch in leaves can be tested by which test? Iodine test. When we remove chlorophyll from leaf by boiling it in alcohol and then put 2 drops of iodine solution, its color changes to blue, indicates the presence of starch. Okay, so first we have to remove the chlorophyll present in the leaves. How we can remove chlorophyll? By boiling it in alcohol, and then we have to put 2 drops of iodine solution. If we put 2 drops of iodine solution means then it changes into blue color. It does not change into blue color when there is no starch present. Okay, if it is changes into blue color, then it indicates the presence of starch. What is we can use here? Iodine test. And the next one, give a brief description of the process of synthesis of food in green plants. See, the green plants have chlorophyll in their leaves. What is called chlorophyll? It is a green pigment present in the leaves. Okay, so the leaves use carbon dioxide and water to make food in the presence of sunlight. Okay, it captures the energy from sunlight and it uses carbon dioxide and water. So carbon dioxide plus water gives glucose. It is a food plus and it releases oxygen in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is very essential. Okay, and the next one, long answers. That is 5 marks. See the first question. Why do organisms need to take food? What is the use of food? Food is needed by all organisms for many purposes. The main function of food is to help in growth. It helps us to grow strong. Then food provides energy for movement such as running or walking. So food provides, gives us energy to do various activities. And food is also needed for replacement decomposes. So this is the sketch. Solar energy, green plant, herbivores and carnivores, and it are eaten by decomposers. Okay, and the next one. Why do farmers grow many fruits and vegetables grow inside large greenhouses? What are the advantages to the farmer? See, fruits and vegetable crops are grown in large greenhouse because it protects crops from external climate conditions and it will provide suitable temperature for the growth of them. So, the greenhouses provides external, that is, it protects the crops from external climate conditions and it provides suitable temperature for the growth of the crops. Okay. Then what are all the advantages? It protects crop from diseases and adverse climate conditions. So it protects the crops from diseases and it protects crops from wind. Okay. Next, we will revise chapter 4. What is the name of the chapter? Heat. Okay. See, look at your surroundings. Some objects are cold, some objects are hot. See, hot coffee, hot pan are the hot objects. Ice cubes and cool drinks are the cold objects. Okay. So, this degree of coldness or hotness are measured by temperature. Okay. What is called temperature? The degree of coldness or hotness of an object is called temperature. Okay, temperature is measured in degree Celsius. How we can measure? Temperature is measured in degree Celsius. And which device we can use to measure temperature? For this we can use thermometers. In this there are 3 types of thermometers. See, what are all the types of thermometer? Clinical thermometer, laboratory thermometer and maximum minimum thermometer. What is the use of the thermometer? It is used to measure the temperature. For example, what is the use of clinical thermometer? In general, clinical thermometers are used in hospitals. It is used to measure the temperature of a human body. So, see, this is the clinical thermometer. It is used to measure the temperature of the body. And laboratory thermometer, it is used in science lab. What is the use of this? It is used to measure the temperature of an object other than the human body. For example, temperature of hot water. We can use this laboratory thermometer to measure the temperature of a hot water. And maximum minimum thermometer, it is used to measure maximum and minimum temperature of the day. Weather forecasting, we can use this in weather forecasting. So it is used to measure maximum and minimum temperature of the body. What is the difference between clinical and laboratory thermometers? Both are contain mercury, isn't it? But what is the difference between clinical thermometer? There is one king present near the bulb. See, this is the bulb. Here one king present. What is the use of this? It prevents the backflow of mercury level by taking outside from our body. But laboratory thermometer does not contain king. When we take outside, immediately the mercury level will falls down. Okay, so it is a difference between clinical thermometer and laboratory thermometer. And the next one, transfer of heat. Okay, what is called transfer of heat? That is, like heat is flow from one place to other is called transfer of heat. For example, take some silver spoon and dip in hot water. What will happen? Immediately after some times we can feel the hotness of the spoon. Okay, so heat is transferred from hotter object to the colder object. It is called transfer of heat. See, there are 3 modes of transfer of heat. One is conduction and radiation. What is the first one? Conduction and radiation. What is called conduction? The molecules of the medium vibrate at their positions to transfer heat. It does not move from their position, but it vibrates in their position and it transfers heat from one end to another. conduction, convection and radiation. And the next one, types of clothes we wear in summer and winter season. In summer season, we wear light colored clothes because it reflects most of the light that falls on it. Okay, so we wear light colored clothes in summer because they keep us cool as they absorb less heat. They absorb less heat and it reflects most of the light that falls on it. So it will keeps us cool. So we can wear light colored clothes in summer season. And in winter season, we wear dark colored clothes in winter because they keep us warm as they absorb most of the heat that falls on it. Okay, so during summer we can wear light colored clothes. What is the reason? It reflects most of the light heat falls on it and it keeps us cool. But in winter season we like to wear dark colored clothes. Why? Because it absorbs more heat that falls on it and it keeps us warm in winter season. Okay, so this is about chapter 4. Next we will discuss about the question answers in chapter 4. Okay children. What is the name of the chapter 4? It is heat. First, fill in the blanks. The hardness of an object is determined by its dash. It is temperature. We already know that the degree of hardness or coldness of an object is measured by its temperature. So what is the answer? It is temperature. And the next one, temperature of the boiling water cannot measured by a dash thermometer, by clinical thermometer. We can use to find the temperature of boiling water, we can use laboratory thermometer. Why? Because clinical thermometer is used to find the temperature of the human body. So we cannot use laboratory thermometer. So what is the answer? It is clinical thermometer. Third one, temperature is measured in degree dash. Temperature is measured in degree Celsius. What is the answer? It is measured in degree Celsius. Fourth one, no medium is required for transfer of heat by the process of radiation. You already know that we get heat energy from sun, but we don't want any medium. So no medium is required by the process of radiation. What is the answer? It is radiation. And the fifth one, a cold steel spoon is dipped in a cup of hot milk. Heat is transferred to its other end by the process of conduction. Okay, so here there is a vibrating movement. There is no movement in the particles. Okay, so the heat is transferred to its other end by the process of conduction. What is the answer? It is conduction. Sixth one, clothes of gas colors absorb more heat better than clothes of light color. Clothes of dark color absorbs more heat, but light color clothes which reflects most of the light that falls on it. So what is the answer? It is dark. And the next one, match the following. Land breeze blows during night. Land net ball. And the next one, a wooden spoon is dipped in a cup of ice cream. Its other end does not become cold. Why? Because a wood is bad conductor of electricity. Sorry, heat. Okay, does not allow heat to pass through them. So, what is the answer? It does not become cold. What is the reason? It is a poor conductor of heat. And the fourth one, stainless steel pans are usually provided with copper bottoms. The reason for this could be copper is better conductor of heat than the stainless steel. Why? Because it absorbs more heat. So it is a good conductor. So copper is better conductor of heat than stainless steel. Next one, short answers. That is 3 marks. Give 2 examples of conductors and insulators of heat. What is called conductor? It can allow heat to pass through it. And insulator, it does not allow heat to pass through it. So what are the examples of conductor? Iron and copper. Insulator, plastic and wood. Why? Because it does not allow heat to pass through them. So these are all conductors and insulators. Second one, give reason. Stainless steel pans are usually provided with copper bottom. The reason is copper is a better conductor of heat than the stainless steel. It allows heat to pass through them. So it is a good conductor of heat. Okay. And the third one, how temperature is measured. Temperature is measured in degree Celsius. Temperature is measured in degree Celsius. Next one, when land breeze and sea breeze blows. Land breeze blows during summer. Okay, that is during day, and sea breeze blows during winter. Land breeze blows during summer and sea breeze blows during winter. Fifth one, the mercury does not fall or rise in a clinical thermometer when taken out of the mouth. Why? Because we have king. See, because of the king present in the thermometer, the mercury does not fall or rise. It present near the bulb. It prevents the backflow of mercury. And the sixth one, how does the heat travel in air? Heat travels in air through the process convection. And the next one, the clinical thermometer is not used to measure high temperature. Why? Clinical thermometer has the range 35 degree to 42 degree Celsius. If we use it to measure high temperature, then it may break. For this, we can use only laboratory thermometer. Laboratory thermometer can measure temperature from 10 degree Celsius to 110 degree Celsius. And the next one, long answers. That is 5 marks. See the first one. State similarities and differences between the laboratory thermometer and the clinical thermometer. Similarities are, they are made of glass and consist of long, narrow tube. And at the one end of both of them have a bulb. Again, one end they have bulb. Bulbs of both of the thermometer consist of mercury. Bulbs of both of the thermometer consist of mercury. So these are the similarities. And what are the differences? First, clinical thermometer and laboratory thermometer. The temperature range is 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius in clinical thermometer. But in laboratory thermometer, the range is from 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. Then second one, it is used to measure human body temperature. It is used to measure temperature in the laboratory. For example, a hot water. And the third one, it has kink which prevents the backflow of mercury. But in laboratory thermometer there is no kink. It does not have a kink. So these are the differences between clinical thermometer and a laboratory thermometer. And the next one, discuss why wearing more layers of clothes during winter keeps us warmer than wearing just one thick of clothing. pendulum. These are all the examples of motion. See, a motion pushes by an object moving along a straight line path is known as rectilinear path. Then what is called circular path? A body is said to be in circular motion if it moves in a circular path. Then what is called periodic motion? When a body repeats its motion after a fixed interval of time, then it is said to be in a periodic motion. So these are the types of motion. So when a body is moved in a straight line path, then it is called a rectilinear path. When it travels in a circular path, for example, a motion of the earth around the sun, it is a circular motion. Then what is called periodic motion? When a body repeats its motion after a fixed interval of time, then it is called periodic motion. So this is about motion and the type of motion. And the next one, what is called time? What is our topic? It is motion and time. A time is a gap or an interval between two events. Okay, a time is a gap or an interval between two events. How can we measure time? By using clocks, we can see or we can measure time. Okay, the next one. See, many events in nature repeat themselves after finite time intervals. A sun rises every day in the morning and the time interval between two consecutive sunrises is called a day. So what is a day? It is a time interval between two consecutive sunrises. Okay, two consecutive sunrises is called a day. And the next one. What is year and month? See, a time interval between one new moon and the next is called a month. A time interval between one new moon and the next is called a month. And what is year? It is the time taken by the earth to complete one revolution around the sun is called a year. See, this is the sun and this is earth. It is the time taken by the earth to complete one revolution around the sun is called a year. And the next one. What is this? It is a simple pendulum. It contains a bob. A mouse attached is called the bob of the pendulum. It is a simple pendulum. This is called bob. When the bob of the pendulum is released after taking it to one side, it begins to move to one flow. Okay, when the bob of the pendulum is released after taking it to one side, it begins to move to one flow. So what motion it executes? It executes a repeated motion. So it is an example of periodic motion. The next one. See, what is called oscillatory motion? A to and fro motion of a pendulum is known as oscillatory motion. The to and fro motion of a pendulum is known as oscillatory motion. Pendulum is said to have complete one oscillation when its bob starting from position 1 and moves to position 2 and to 3 and back to 1. So this is called one oscillation. It starts from position 1, then it moves to 2, then again from 2 to 3, then it comes to 1. So this full motion is called one oscillation. Okay, and the next one. See, this is main position and this is extreme position. In the above picture, we can see one main position and two extreme position. So the time taken by the bob to complete one oscillation is called time period. What is called time period? A time taken by the bob to complete one oscillation. So it is main position. These two are extreme position. So the time taken by the bob to complete one oscillation is known as time period. And the next one. What is called frequency of oscillation? The bigger units of time are minute and hour. What is the SI unit of time? It is second, and the bigger units of time are hour and minute. 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, and 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. 1 minute is equal to 67 seconds. So these are all the units of time. And the next one, speed. What is speed? See, speed is the distance traveled by an object in unit time. So it is mathematically speed is equal to distance per unit time. It is the distance traveled by an object in unit time. So what is called speed? Speed is equal to distance by time. And the next one, what is the unit of speed? We know that speed is equal to distance by time. The SI unit of distance is meter, and the SI unit of time is second, and the SI unit of speed is meter per second. So SI unit of speed is equal to meter per second. The other units of speeds are kilometer per hour and meter per minute. We can use these two units for speed. Okay. Next one, uniform motion. A body is or an object is said to be in uniform motion if it covers equal distances in equal interval of time. Okay. So, for example, if a car covers 60 km every hour, 30 km every half an hour, and 50 km every quarter of an hour, and so on, then its motion is said to be in uniform motion. An object covers equal distance in equal interval of time is known as uniform motion. The next one, non-uniform motion. What is called non-uniform motion? An object is said to be in non-uniform motion if it covers unequal distance in equal interval of time. Okay, it is called non-uniform motion. For example, if a car covers 90 km in 1 hour, 50 km every half an hour, and 40 km every quarter of an hour, and so on, then its motion is said to be in non-uniform motion. And the next one, graph and its types. See, what is the use of graphs? Graphs are the important pictorial tools which deliver useful information. What is the use of graphs? Graphs are charts help people to organize the data quickly and study the dependence of one variable over the other. This is the use of graph. And the next one, types of graphs. See, first one, distance time graph for a stationary object. A distance time graph for an object at rest is straight line parallel to time axis, that is x-axis. We can take x-axis time and in y-axis a distance. Okay, so the distance time graph for an object at rest, it is straight line parallel to the time axis. In the graph shown, time increases towards the right but distance does not change. Here time only motion. So this is about motion, time and the types of motion and the graphs. What are the types of graphs? Distance, time graph. Next we will have a revision part of question and answers for chapter 13. See, the name of the chapter is motion and time. First one, true or false. A basic unit of time is second. Yes, it is second. So the basic unit of time is second is a true. Every object moves with a constant speed. It is false. So the movement, why? Because the movement of the object will vary. So it is a false. And the third one, distances between two cities are measured in kilometers. It is true. So the distance is measured in kilometers. So it is true. And the fourth one, the time period of a given pendulum is constant. It is not a constant. So it is a false. The speed of the train is expressed in meter per hour. It is false. Why? Because the speed of the train is expressed in kilometer per hour or meter per minute. Okay. So it is a false. And the next one, very short answer. This is also one mark. Give the basic unit of speed. We already know that speed is equal to distance by time. A distance is measured in meter and time is measured in second. So what is the basic unit of speed? It is meter per second. Second one, mention which is the most common thing in almost all the clocks. All the clocks show periodic motion. Why? Because it repeats its motion over a period of time. So all of them shows periodic motion. Name the axis that represents dependent variable. It is y-axis. In graph we have two axes, x-axis. The horizontal line is x-axis and the vertical line is y-axis. So here the name the axis that represents the dependent variable. It represents y-axis. And the next one, short answers, that is 3 marks. See the first one. State the characteristic of distance time graph for the motion of an object moving with a constant speed. The distance time graph for the motion And the next one, fifth one, a simple pendulum takes 32 seconds to complete 20 oscillations. What is the time period of the pendulum? A number of oscillations is 20 and the time taken to complete 20 oscillations is 32 seconds. We know that time period is the total number of total time taken by number of oscillations. Here time taken 32 seconds by number of oscillations 20. So what is the time period? It is equal to 1.6 seconds. And the next one, a distance between two stations is 240 kilometers. A train takes 4 hours to cover this distance. Calculate the speed of the train. Here a distance between two stations is 240 kilometers and the total time taken is 4 hours. We know that what is the formula to find the speed? It is a distance by time. So 240 by 4. So the speed is equal to 60 kilometers per hour. And the next one, show the shape of the distance triangle for the motion for the following cases. A car moving with a constant speed. We already know that in the distance triangle we take in x-axis time and in y-axis distance. So here a car moves in a uniform speed. So it moves in a straight line path. So it will become like this. And a car parked on a side road. Here a car is at rest. So in this graph it is parallel to time axis. Okay, and the next one, long answers, that is 5 marks. See the first one, the odometer of a car reads 57,321 kilometers when the clock shows the time 8:30 a.m. What is the distance moved by the car if at 8:50 a.m.? The odometer reading has changed to 57,336 kilometers. Here we have to calculate the speed of the car in kilometer per minute and in kilometer per hour. Okay, see the initial reading of the odometer is 57,321 kilometers and the final reading of the odometer is 57,336 kilometers. So the distance covered by the car is final reading of the odometer minus initial reading of the odometer. So final reading is 57,336 minus 57,321. So it is equal to 15 kilometers. And the starting time of car is 8:30 a.m. and it stops at 8:50. Hence time taken by the car is equal to 20 minutes. Here we have to calculate what? The speed of a car. We already know that what is the formula to find speed? It is distance traveled by an object per unit time. So distance traveled by a car is 15 kilometers and the time is 20 minutes. If we divide 15 by 20 we get 0.75 kilometers per minute. Okay. We also know that 20 minutes is equal to 20 into 1 by 60. kilometer. Okay.